Hey everybody, I am back. Today is my birthday, and I thought uh, I'd like to hop on and yeah, I'm just grateful for making it into another decade of life. Yes, and yeah, just wanting to share more and more and more of what I feel called to do. So we're gonna just get into the messages today, see what's coming through. Um, you know, I guess all I want for my birthday is a gift from Spirit and from me to you. So, yeah, we'll get into it. Water, as usual. Always like to sip a little bit to kind of help clear my energy, and I don't know, just feels like an act of, like an intentional act of gratitude and of getting ready to tap in. Okay, so I'm going to shift the camera down. Also, I think I should say my name is Mikkel. People call me Mix a lot of the time. Um, on here, the account is Spiritual Stems. On Reddit, I go by Intuitive Stem. Uh, yeah, I guess I'll make a separate video though. Maybe another video a little bit more about me. I did some earlier on, but yeah, it's always cool to have some updates because life changes, things shift. So yeah. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to shift the camera down. Okay, so whoops. Angles, y'all, angles. Okay, so I am going to be using three decks today. We're going to do Tarot of the Holy Spectrum Infinity Edition, then the Spacious Tarot. Sorry, not just Infinity Edition, Infinity Second Edition, the holographic mirror version. Just came out this year and also is available for sale. I'm going to be listing it on my Etsy shop. I think at the moment I only have the original version. So, yeah. All right. So, we are grateful for this new day. Welcome to Leo season. Thank you, Spirit, for being present in this reading. And when I say spirit, that can be, of course, whatever sort of higher power you believe in, even if that's just like, for example, your higher self. You don't necessarily have to believe in an all-knowing entity. I believe there's room for a variety of perspectives in this life, right? So, thank you for your protection, for your guidance, and what messages do we have for everybody today? What messages do we have for the collective today? Clear messages for the collective today. With this. Major Arcana, the World. And that came out exactly at 4:44 on the clock. Yeah, which is a number of really stabilizing your foundations, I think, being good in yourself, having reached a point of victory, in sort of learning some sort of, or many actually, lessons. And I'm feeling like even though this isn't exactly a sun, it feels like there's a sense of the outline of a sun being here, a sense of enlightenment. Red is a color of vitality, of passion, of motivation, and with the arms outstretched, it's kind of feeling like, you know, the world is mine. All opportunities are here for the taking, excuse me. And yeah, that we've been and will continue to be victorious in some way. I'll lay out the crystals here. Okay, and let's move on to the Spacious Tarot with Expansion Pack. Spacious Tarot is really cool for a lot of reasons. One of them being that it's illustrated more from a first person perspective, so it's kind of like you're in the deck. I'll give this example here. The image that's on the guidebook is from the first card, which is the Fool. So instead of seeing someone else like stepping off the edge into a new journey, it's like you're walking off the edge into a new journey, which is really cool. And I also find it really interesting that this world card here is kind of like, it's you getting back to this place after having taken the whole journey and seeing what you've learned, right? All the obstacles you've conquered. And getting ready to do it again. So, Heavenly Father, Divine Mother Earth, angels, ancestors, divine guides, we're grateful for this time. We're grateful for Leo season, a time of reigniting our inner fire, a time of reconnecting to our heart space, moving from a space of our clearest desires. Yes. Anything else from this one? Let's see. All right. So first we have the Nine of Cups. Okay, and the Nine of Cups is about feeling fulfilled emotionally. And this here, this type of like dandelion situation, when they're in this like fluff state, a lot of people blow on these to make wishes. And I think this is cool. Also, the next card that came out is Cancer, which is the season that we just came out of. So yeah, again, this world card feeling like being victorious after some of the turbulence and just some of what Cancer required us to do in terms of going with the flow of a pretty emotionally turbulent time, and the ways in which the waters have like settled, and that we're able to find our wish fulfillment in there. And having been able to fill 9 cups, like, yes, this was emotional turbulence, but within that turbulence there's always the opportunity. This is a lot of water and it's a lot of emotional turbulence, but in there's also the opportunity to um, fill many, many cups, many of your own cups, refill many of your own cups. Because, of course, there are times when emotion takes a back seat, and sometimes when emotion takes a back seat, and we're moving from like a purely logical place, let's say, for example, that is, your heart's not necessarily in it. Because heart is, of course, a combination of passion and emotion. So a combination of fire and water, even though technically a lot of times those elements would be thought of as opposing each other, but they can actually feed each other and complement each other very, very well. Of course, too much water can put out your fire, and too much too much water and excuse me, too much fire can create a level of heat that makes you know water potentially evaporate and dry up. So let's get into yeah, let me read a bit from a little bit, maybe some keywords from the Nine of Cups, and maybe read a bit about Cancer here. And if you'd like, you can go back to the previous reading, which was, well, one of the previous readings, excuse me, collective readings, the Cancer Season 1, which did very much talk about the turbulence and the need for surrender. Like if we think about surfing, you have to be able to catch the wave in a certain way so they don't get like caught up in it. But there's a lot of potential fun. And now I'm also seeing this world card here kind of almost as somebody standing on a surfboard and like knowing that they've been able to conquer this type of wave. So, what am I reading first? A little bit from the Nine of Cups. Okay, wishes and gratitude. So the Nine of Cups sprinkles you with feelings of satisfaction and desire. What do you yearn for right now? Look at your wishes, let yourself feel that longing. This is the first step in transforming reality. And this card also invites you to be grateful for what you already have. What magic surrounds you in this moment? How can you feel that magic in bigger ways? Dream about the future while staying attuned to the glorious beauty of the now. And speaking of dreaming about the future, this here, next card, the Three of Wands. Three of Wands is about setting out on a journey of exploration, right? And being ready for the new things that may be coming in. Let's get into that a little bit. I was going to talk about the Cancer card more, but I'm feeling like this leads directly into this right now. Okay, so this card is about exploration, and it's also about leadership. So the Three of Wands entices you onto an adventurous course. It may still be early in the process, but you're moving in an exciting direction. Chart your own course forward and say yes to life. Okay, don't wait for someone else to lead the way. Blaze your own path. And I'm really loving that right now. Yeah, we talked about gratitude, we talked about blazing your own path, saying a big yes to life. Again, back to this world card, this does feel like saying a big yes to life. And with the Three of Wands being about exploration, and this card being the world, I think it's also talking about the infinite possibilities that exist out there. And the infinity sign, you've got it right here above the person's head, glowing, golden. And it talks about also not only considering your immediate wants, but also the broader purpose that you want to fulfill and taking action that comes from a place of intention. So you can be energetically open to everything that's awaiting you and that you might find from here. And with one of the key words in this card being leadership, I think that also leads really well directly um, into the Emperor card. Okay, talking about leadership. Here you have this flower that's like kind of standing above the rest, and it's in the front of the row here. And of course, Emperor energy, when overdone, can be rigid and problematic. But I think in this case, it's talking about um, very much being a leader in your own life. And then we've got more of the red symbolism, the richness, the power, the passion, the creativity, the motivation. Uh, and also, the Emperor is card number 4. I was talking about 444 earlier on, but also just in general, 4 being just very much a number of stability, right? Okay, so the Emperor is about leadership, it's about structure, it's about discipline, it's about order, um, and it talks about red being the color of power, right? Um, so it asks, how might a healthy sense of discipline serve your vision of greatness? Okay, this card asks you to be regimented, to tap into your inner authority, and give yourself permission to be a leader. Consider what's in your own best interest as well as what's in the best interest of the whole, and then impose those boundaries and take charge of your environment. And I think it's easy to think about discipline as being rigid or as being narrow, and about boundaries as closing things down. But your boundaries can also be that you say yes, more yes to certain things and less of like yeses to other things. um and this, I think that this world card, this 3 of Wands, all of it is asking you to say yes to more of things that are new, more of things that will continue to fill your cups. um being mindful that you did just come through all of this turbulence. Okay, and so the Emperor is also asking you to be rational and reasonable at a time when you have all this new fire um, coming up, right? Because, for example, the Empress, which is the card right before this in the tarot deck, there's like, it's very abundant. There's, flowers, kind of like where the concept of flowers sprawling all over the place. Most interpretations of the Empress card have just show a lot of nature flourishing, and but flourishing like wildly, right? Whereas in the Emperor card here, everything's sort of in a row. And so again, you have more of this idea of potentially contradictory energies, but that are actually complementing each other. How can you tap in a way knowing that, I guess you could say, like, the world is your oyster, and there's everything there for the taking. There is incredible abundance, but how can you still focus enough to make sure that you're leading yourself in a way that you don't get lost in too much of a certain type of abundance, maybe also not overdoing it. um, Finding some type of moderation even in your celebration. and also moderation in times when things are not going well. Like moderate your sadness with gratitude. Um, Moderate your gratitude and your excitement with some level of humility as well. Okay. So yeah, order is definitely a theme. I think three of the four cards that are here are showing either some sort of tool, or either the fire of the path itself, or either the rows of the abundance of what has grown, like things being in a row, things being in order. Okay, and let's get a final card from this Wild Unknown Alchemy deck. Okay, I will mention the crystals that I have on here. The other ones I feel like I've talked about a good bit, maybe in some of the previous videos, but tanzanite, rutilated quartz, and onyx. Put these over here. And I think something that's I don't know why is standing out to me right now about this is there are four things here, and there are like four crystals here, and there are three crystals here, but one of the three crystals is actually sort of like two in one. So there could be something about hmm, feeling like something is uneven or unbalanced, but actually one of the things also contains the other thing that's needed. That'll make sense for somebody. um, yeah, so bearing in mind balance, of course. Oh, yeah, interesting. Like this, the way that the crystals are laid out, and just like the way that the reading is calling for balancing, sort of potentially at first glance anyway, polar opposite energies. Um, yeah, so again, there's something about something that looks like three maybe actually being four. So just re-examining that. Okay, so for the final, let me shift a little bit here. For the final card, we're going to go into the Alchemy deck, the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck by Kim Krantz, who is a very interesting creator, visionary, by the way. I would recommend looking her up. So as we close out this reading, we express gratitude to Spirit for guiding us, for giving us messages, for giving us all kinds of tools that we can use to interact with Spirit, to interact with more of our inner selves. We're grateful for just the ability to reflect at all. So, what messages do we need to close this out for the collective? 3. Okay. You know what? Actually don't think that it's all three that are supposed to come out this year. Azure, the blue temple. Okay, so we're just going to take that. Okay. Azure Vault, the Blue Temple. And that's card number 54. So the key words here are celestial realm, the imagination, and expansiveness. Welcome to the Blue Temple, the home of the alchemical imagination. You have entered a space of new depths, new possibilities. The inner eye opens and you become willing to see a new way. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so in terms of like we talked about the world being yours to explore, the endless possibilities. Um, and we also talked about being able to see a new way, a new path being illuminated here with the Three of Wands. So again, the inner eye opens and you become willing to see in a new way. To understand this card, one must study blue itself. It is the celestial color of the sky, the ocean, and the peacock's tail. Though potent, blue slips away. Through this color, our imagination threads together experiences both grim and glorious. Think think blue films and blue ribbons, the halls of heaven and the harrows of melancholy. We are taken into the depths of mood, of tone, of the rhythm of the blues. The eternal mystery of blue will only deepen as we study it, and this is precisely the point. Leave the cerebral behind, cloak yourself in the sapphire robe, and sit quietly in the vault of mysteries. And it says, many people dismiss the Azure Vault as nonsense. Don't worry about them. Stay tuned to your own attendance to this sacred place and notice how you feel there. And again, the Blue Vault, the Azure Vault, the Blue Temple, celestial realm, the imagination, and expansiveness. So yeah, this is talking about how sometimes people do have, as I was saying earlier, like narrow views, or it's possible to get into a space of restriction, right? Um, but in the Azure Vault, you can find the imagination sometimes can bring you sort of the final pieces of what you need. And I think that that feels especially relevant. What I was just saying about the third, the three actually being four here. Um, yeah, maybe the fourth thing that's needed also is imagination. Like the third, like the fourth thing being within the third. Okay, and I'm noticing how here on this card you have this one out of these, I guess, six total, but this one here on the bottom, and that's sort of, that one would be what would complete the four that would be needed here to create balance. So the fourth element might just be imagination, um, that's needed to secure your foundations, if that makes sense. So, and then one other thing that's mentioned here with this card is once in a blue moon is a significant phrase. If the blue temple card and the moon card appear together, take note. Um, the unlikely is the most likely. So we don't have the moon specifically from this deck here, but we do have the Cancer card, which is very, very much associated with the moon. And when that talks about the unlikely being likely, all kinds of opportunities that you thought you might not have had, yeah, just endless possibilities again, right? The unlikely being the most likely. um, which is the sorry about that. There was a little weird chop off there. I had a reminder alarm go off literally in the middle of while I was speaking twice. So yeah, talking about the unlikely being the most likely, all these interruptions. Yeah, so, but I guess the last thing that I was really saying about the unlikely being the most likely was, of course, like things that may have seemed impossible or new opportunities that you thought, um, yeah, just weren't necessarily in the realm of possibility, just seeing everything as being available to you, right? Wishes being fulfilled, wishes coming true, right? Um, yeah, versus thinking that, or versus our assumptions of what might be most likely, which are not necessarily the truth, right? Oftentimes we're limiting ourselves based on previous experiences of not getting what we wanted, or of feeling not necessarily getting what we wanted, but which can happen and which happens a lot, but not getting what we wanted because we didn't even try, because we already assumed that it wasn't possible. That's more so what this is getting at. Okay, so in the space of imagination, a lot of things are available, and it's possible for them to then become realities. So let's get this back up here. Okay. All right. So that is what I have for y'all today. I'm going to continue chilling, making the most of this day, enjoy the rest of Leo's season. And yes, I will talk to you again very soon, hopefully. All right. Take care. Much love.